Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody who's joining us here on the program tonight. Folks, we have a lot to talk about. A ton of things to talk about. I apologize for coming on the air so late, but we're waiting to get an update for some information we did not receive, and if we don't receive it or don't verify what we're talking about, it's not going on the air. That is where we're at. Now, if this information comes forward sometime during our program, I will go ahead and air it. But other than that, we've got a lot of information to talk about tonight, and I want everybody to very much pay attention. Everything here is very important to talk about. Everything that we're going to talk about is important. I don't want to say this part is more important than the other, because it's not. Now, why am I being this difficult? Why am I talking about this way? Because, folks, our lives depend on what we're talking about. Our lives depend on us paying attention. Our lives and our children's lives pay attention or mean a lot to me, and that is because they are important to us. Your lives are important to me. They always will be. Your lives will always be more important to me than even my own. Now, with that said, Hurricane Heather just talked about a magnitude 6.0 very strong earthquake over in Taiwan. Let's go take a look at it. Okay? There have been earthquakes hitting Taiwan literally all day. Okay? As you can see, there are 3 earthquakes here. This earthquake here, Don Patoga is saying audio. Does everybody hear me okay right now? Is it too strong or too loud? I'm hearing low volume from Richard Smith. Is this better now? No sound at all. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, this should be better. This should be a lot better here. How about now, guys? For some reason, it went loud and then it died out again. How about now, guys? Is it okay now? Do we have enough volume now to have you all understand what I'm talking about? I want to make sure you guys can hear us. Don Patoga says, was 5 by 5 then dropped. I hope it doesn't drop now. Okay, Don Patoga says 5 by 5 now. Renee Steffi also is giving us a 5 by 5 as well. Now, you see 3 earthquakes over here in Taiwan. Okay, Hurricane Heather said there was a 6.0. I haven't gotten that notification yet. The notification we got earlier was a 5.4, just off the northeast coast of Taiwan here. Yilan, Taiwan. Y-I-L-A-N, Taiwan. Now it looks like it's on the coast. It's not. It's far offshore. 44 kilometers offshore. That's about 22 miles offshore. This is a 5.4 magnitude earthquake. Now, this is a large earthquake. Don't get me wrong. This is about a mid-range large earthquake. This, normally, if it was on land, would cause a lot of damage. Out here, 44 kilometers off the coast northeast of Taiwan, it's only going to do some shaking over on Taiwan. Anybody living along the coastline will experience some shaking. I don't believe you're going to experience full shaking here because this ocean water is absorbing probably 80 to 90% of the shock waves from this quake. The ocean water is going to absorb 80 to 90% of the shock waves from this quake. This is a mid-range 5 earthquake. Okay? Closer to shore. This is a 4.6. This is 11 kilometers deep. This large earthquake is 11.3 kilometers deep. We have one further out off the coast here. Now, Japan claims these islands out here far off the coast of Taiwan. This is 56 kilometers south-southeast. It's not south-southeast. It's southeast of Yonaguni, Taiwan. Okay? But this is Japan. This is Japan. This is southeast of Yonaguni, Japan. This island out here in Japan. Okay? This is not 56 kilometers from Taiwan. The islands out here are owned by Japan here. Okay? But northeastern Taiwan got hit by that 5.4. Again, northeastern Taiwan only experienced some of that quake. The majority of that 5.4 earthquake was absorbed by the Pacific Ocean waters. Okay? That's what happens out here. Also over here, southeast of Japan here. This is a 4.5 earthquake here. Earlier this week we had a 7.1 here. Now that earthquake at the time was a very strong earthquake, and yes, it did some damage. It didn't kill anybody. There were no casualties as a result of that quake. However, Japan has issued an advisory for a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake here in the southern part of Japan. It has not happened yet, and as it goes forward until next week at this time, or mid-range week, meaning Wednesday of next week, if it goes then, it probably won't be, if the earthquake itself, meaning a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake does not happen before then, I don't think it's going to happen. Okay? Going up further north here on the east side of Japan. This is Hadano, Japan. Hadano, Japan. This earthquake is close to Tokyo. This is a 4.5 moderate quake. USGS and the other agencies are calling it light earthquakes. 4.0, 4.9, they're calling them light earthquakes. They're not. They're still moderate earthquakes. They don't do light damage, they do moderate damage. Pictures and things on the shelves, on the walls, fall down. Plates in the cupboards rattle and sometimes fall out of the cupboards with a 4.5 earthquake. I've seen in Los Angeles, when they have a 4.5 earthquake, water mains break, gas mains break, major damage in Los Angeles. If you remember what happened in Pasadena this week when they had that alleged 4.4 earthquake, it was a lot larger than that. It was at least a 5.1 large earthquake. They called it a 4.5. Lucy Jones says, oh, that's okay. That's okay. Los Angeles experiences quite a few earthquakes in Los Angeles. Quite a few 4-point earthquakes, 4.0 and larger earthquakes every year. 13 earthquakes every year, she said. Already this year there have been 25 4.0 and large earthquakes here in Los Angeles. Now, folks, that is nothing. That is nothing. I want to go over here to Grapevine. After the Pasadena earthquake hit earlier this week, the next day we had another moderate earthquake over here in the Grapevine area. Grapevine is still shaking. I want to make it very much known that Grapevine area is still shaking. We've had a 2.5 earthquake here in Lamont. Okay? the same location where that 4.4 earthquake hit. And then, even then I said it was a 5.1 earthquake here in Grapevine. This earthquake right here to the south is a 1.3 tremor. To the north of that 3, there was a 1.4 here in Lamont. South of there is a 1.4 here in Grapevine. South of there in Maricopa, California, here's a 1.8 here, and here's a 2.6. We're still getting hit with earthquakes here. Now, I have not gone in and analyzed each and every one of these earthquakes in the Grapevine area. But knowing what I know about USGS, they're still hiding earthquakes. They are still hiding earthquakes, and they're going to continue to hide earthquakes. Okay? I want to make that point very clear. USBS is hiding earthquakes. Now, NCWQ Earthquakes and Disaster Explorer put up a video this afternoon. She also said Oregon Earthquake Agency is hiding earthquakes as well. It doesn't surprise me, because the United States Geological Survey has been asked by the politicians to not report earthquakes. And as a result, USGS has gotten all the other agencies to go along with the lie. They want everybody to be on board with their lie. What happens when there's a major earthquake? Is USGS also going to continue to downgrade these quakes and say it wasn't as strong as it is, and yet there's going to be people killed? I believe that's exactly what's going to happen. I believe that's exactly what's going to happen, guys. The agency doesn't give a flying rat's butt whether there are casualties or not. They don't give a flying rat's butt whether there is property damage or other injuries as well. They don't care. They don't give a darn. Now, as Lucy Jones said the other night, after that large earthquake hit over in Pasadena, USGS says that there's going to be a 7.5 earthquake in the Los Angeles area. She said there's going to be a 7.5 earthquake here in Los Angeles. I'm pulling that map up right here. There's going to be a 7.5 earthquake in the center part of Los Angeles, the most populated area of Los Angeles. Now, if you don't believe it, go over to KTLA and pull up the earthquake information video that they put up. You'll hear Lucy Jones say those exact words. There's going to be a major 7.5 earthquake. She didn't call it major, but it is a major earthquake. It's going to happen. I promise you, it is going to happen. It's going to happen because the fault that caused the Pasadena earthquake to happen goes right through the middle of Los Angeles, the most populated area of Los Angeles. It's going to cause major damage. It's going to kill 1,800 people minimum. Lucy Jones said it's going to kill at least 800 people. I'm going to triple that number. I'm going to triple that number. Hurricane Heather says Lucy looked like a scared cat when she said that. Yes, she did look like a scared cat. I reviewed the video earlier today. She did look like a scared cat. But folks, guess what? Los Angeles is due a very strong earthquake. And yes, a 7.5 earthquake is going to happen. I can promise you. We've been looking at Los Angeles for a very long time, haven't we? We've been looking at all of Southern California for a very long time. I testify to you that I know it's going to happen. I still believe over just south of the border at the U.S.-Mexican border, there's going to be a major earthquake there. There's also going to be a major earthquake in Los Angeles. And it still could happen this summer. It still could happen this summer. Why am I saying that? I have been showing you enough evidence to prove what I'm saying. I've been showing you seismograms all over Los Angeles during the past 6 months. Even as of the last few weeks, there is enough evidence showing on the seismograms that these earthquakes are happening. And as a result of these earthquakes, more and more earthquakes are happening. Now, the earthquake I'm showing you now happened earlier today. This is over just north of Lake Elsinore, California. When this earthquake came out, they said this was a 4.0 earthquake. USGS has now downgraded to a 3.6. I did the background checking on this earthquake. I went to the back seismologist study page. I pulled up the documents. USBS said there were 14 stations reporting it. 14 seismograph stations reporting it. There weren't. There were 18 stations reporting it. I documented all the information. This earthquake was not a 3.6 as they're now calling it. This earthquake was a minimum 4.0 moderate earthquake. This earthquake was a minimum of 4.0 earthquake. They're calling it a 3.6. It's a travesty that they can get away with downgrading the earthquake nearly half magnitude. It's a travesty because they are lying to the people. They are absolutely lying to the people. This is on the Elsinore Fault Range. This is right on top of the Elsinore Fault. Just to the north of that quake. This is a 3.0 here. Southwest of there, this is a 2.0. West of there is a 2.0 quake as well. Now, they can say whatever they want. And they're going to do it because they've done it in the past, and they're going to continue doing it into the future. Everybody needs to be on board with what we're talking about. You need to understand what is going on. Now, Wages World just showed up in our chat. I appreciate that so much. Mark, thank you for all your information you're putting out. Now, Mark, if you'd like to come on my program tonight, I heard you're going to have a program later this evening, but I would love to have you on the program right now. You can give me a call and you can talk to everybody here on the EMA program. I would love to have you here on the program. I even have a few questions myself. Now, Mark has been talking about some sunspot activity, some very dangerous sunspot activity. Okay? He's also warned about a possible asteroid. He mentioned that in the topic of his last video. He said, quote, "Is it going to strike Earth or not?" I don't believe it's going to strike Earth. However, it is in the general vicinity of the Earth. Okay? It is there. Mark, I would love to have you on the air if you're willing to come on the air. Give me a call. You're welcome to come on the air anytime you want. Like you were probably told last night, I was ready to put your program on the air and simulcast Wages World on our program last night. I have no problem with that. I don't have a single problem with that. Wages, you are a very dear friend of mine. You and your family are very dear to my heart and the heart of all of our viewers here. We care about you guys. We care about you guys. We also care about the information you put out. Wages saying be real good to see everyone. Have a great evening. So apparently he's not going to come on the program tonight, and that's okay. That's just fine. I was dearly hoping, honestly hoping, that Mark, you could be on the program tonight. We appreciate you here. We very much appreciate you being on the air and giving us information. Okay? Amy Fox is here in the chat saying FEMA directives classes for county east responders were demeaning towards redirection elderly, severely injured to areas hours away for medical care and rehousing. Yes, the FEMA directives are not pleasant. They really aren't. FEMA directors have never been very pleasant. Okay? Not always. Sometimes they're fair, sometimes they're not. Now, it just depends on where you're at. Okay? FEMA is not a rural type of agency. If you are in a rural area, FEMA really can't do anything for you. FEMA basically takes care of cities and towns. Okay? FEMA takes care of cities and towns. I've seen that happen. I've taken about 38 to 40. I've lost track of how many FEMA courses I've taken over the years. But I've taken a lot of courses. I have talked to a lot of FEMA people. Wages World said in the chat, says, you're in good hands here with Ron. Please share the stream. It helps bring awareness. Ron, you are a rock star. God bless. Thanks, Wages. You are as well. Wages does a wonderful program here on YouTube. For those of you that haven't seen him, please go over to his program tonight at 9 p.m. and he will be happy to share information with you. Now, Boreal Beast is asking what would be a timeline that these earthquakes is going to occur. I believe that 7.0, 7.5 earthquake could occur at any time. However, that 7.0, 7.5 earthquake could occur before summer ends, between now and probably mid-September. Now, I have something else to tell you. I'm going to back this map out a little bit. Okay, I'm going to back this map out a little bit. I want to show you something else that's happened even today. Okay, let's go down here into the Gulf of California. USGS is not talking about any earthquakes here in the Gulf of California. Yet there have been. There have been 3.0s, 3.5s, and 4.5 earthquakes down here in the Gulf of California. As we have reported during the past weeks, we've had a lot of earthquakes down in southern Mexico. USGS never shows those earthquakes. All that energy from southern Mexico is working its way north. This map that I'm showing you right now of southern Mexico is devoid of any earthquakes. That is an omission of USGS. There are about 35 earthquakes down here in southern Mexico. The majority of those earthquakes are 3.5 to 4.2 in nature. 3.5 is a small earthquake. 3.2 is a small earthquake. 4.0 to 4.9 are considered to be moderate earthquakes. No matter what the agency calls them, they're moderate earthquakes. They do moderate damage. This energy is moving its way north up here into the Gulf of California. It has moved here into the Gulf of California now. USGS is not showing diddly squat. They're not showing diddly squat. Now, Richard Smith says a 4.0 moderate earthquake hit Oaxaca, Mexico 50 minutes ago. That slide I just showed you of earthquakes in southern Mexico is true. Nothing's there. But there are earthquakes there. There are about 40 earthquakes down there in southern Mexico. They're working their way through the Gulf of California here into North America, into southern California. Down here in Mexico here, this is Puebla, Mexico. This is a 1.4 tremor down here in Puebla, Mexico. Now, we have a lot of tremors here. We do have a lot of tremors. They're not even showing those here except for this earthquake here. It's just a 1.4 tremor. But there are many more earthquakes here, and I reported those to you yesterday in our program last night. There are plenty of earthquakes here in Imperial Valley, California. We talked about earthquakes over here in San Diego. Over here right now, Julian, California. We spoke about earthquakes in Julian before. We talked about them last night. There's another 1.7 tremor here in Julian today. Over here in the Imperial Valley east of the Salton Sea, we still have a swarm of earthquakes right here. The latest one was a 1.8 tremor here, just southeast of Salton City. As you can see, the swarm continues here. Seismic energy is moving north. This area here, north and west of the Salton Sea. This is called the Anza-Borrego Desert area. The Anza-Borrego Desert area. Right here, this is Borrego Springs. These four earthquakes right here are in Borrego Springs. This one to the north is in Anza. Anza, also part of the Anza-Borrego Desert area. We go north. This earthquake right here is in the Anza area, also in the Anza-Borrego Desert area. This earthquake to the south of that, southwest of that, this is Palomar Observatory. Palomar Observatory on Palomar Mountain in northeast San Diego County. This is also on the Elsinore Fault. The same fault where we showed you that 4.0 just north of Elsinore. Okay? Be Real Beast just gave us a $10 super chat. Thank you, I really appreciate that. God bless you for that. I just bestowed upon you an EMA sticker on your super chat. I also just gave you another thumbs up for that. Now your super chat has gotten 7 thumbs up. Please, everyone, give Be Real Beast a thumbs up. We appreciate all of your support in the way of super chats, in the way of supporting us on PayPal, supporting us on Venmo, or sending support in the way of cards and letters and donations to our post office box. We really appreciate it. It means a lot to us. It keeps the lights on this program. It helps support this program. When I first started this program, I didn't understand that it costs money to keep this program on the air. But I soon found that out. It takes bandwidth. It takes a bandwidth. Bandwidth costs money. Bandwidth costs money. Some research that I've done for these earthquakes and other things that I continue to do also costs money. So I appreciate you all supporting us. I really do. I take time away from my family to do this. I take time away from my family to do this. My wife, Carol, dearly appreciates each and every one of you. She understands what it takes. She understands what it takes. Heidi Petrick just gave us another $10 super chat. Heidi, thank you so much. God bless you for that. I just gave you an EMA sticker and also another thumbs up on your super chat. God bless you for that. You all make my day. Your support makes my day. Like I said, it helps keep the lights on here. You all help me. You all help me. It means a lot to be able to do things for you. I've been doing this to try to save lives here. I do all this to help save lives, yours, mine, and everybody's. And I will continue it until I can't do it anymore. But I will be here. I will be here. As I said, all this area here, northwest of the Anza-Borrego Desert, is very dangerous. It's very dangerous. Excuse me for just a second. My son is calling my wife and I, and I'm on the air, so I won't be joining him on his call. And he knows that. He knows that I'm on the air. Anyway, all this here, from where you see this earthquake, is also part of the Anza-Borrego Desert area. The Anza-Borrego Desert is the northeast part of San Diego County. The northeast part of San Diego County. It's a state desert, a California desert appointed area. North and west of there is what they call Green Acres. Green Acres is over in Orange County. Green Acres had a 1.2 tremor here. That tremor was 2 miles deep. 2 miles deep. This is near the San Jacinto Fault. Near the San Jacinto Fault. Further north, this is Calamasa, California. This is a resort area. People come over here to golf, park their RVs, and play, and have dinner over here. This is a 1.1 tremor here. 1.1 tremor. Further north here, this is near the juncture of the San Jacinto and the Elsinore Fault. I'm sorry, not the Elsinore, the San Jacinto and the San Andreas Fault. San Jacinto and the San Andreas Fault here. This is a 1.1 near Muscoa, California. Muscoa, California. Now, I'm not going to go all over the earthquakes throughout California or even around the world today. I'm going to give you information that you need to know. With everything that's going on, we are looking to have another large earthquake in Los Angeles. We are looking to have another 5.0 earthquake in Los Angeles. As you saw before, over in the Grapevine, 4.4, 4.5 earthquake. Pasadena, another 4.4, 4.5 earthquake. I verified that. The Pasadena earthquake was a 5.0. The Pasadena earthquake was a 5.0 magnitude earthquake, a large earthquake. Well, folks, another 5.0 or larger earthquake is due into Los Angeles very soon. I will even put Los Angeles right now on a watch for a large earthquake to happen within the next 7 days. A large earthquake will probably happen in Los Angeles in the next 7 days. With all the other earthquake activity, I'm giving that watch right now. So you folks that are in Southern California, be prepared. That earthquake will happen in Los Angeles. It will happen in Los Angeles. Anyone living in Southern California will feel that earthquake or be subject to the powers of that earthquake, meaning shaking, damage and or injury as a result of that quake. What are you doing about it? What are you folks in Southern California doing? Are you prepared? Do you have a bug out bag? Do you have a 72-hour kit with 3 days full of water and food and clothing and a medical kit? A medical kit containing bandages, medicine. Are you ready for it? I'm not talking about putting a bandage on your finger. I'm talking about a full-blown tourniquet if necessary. And if you don't use it for a tourniquet, how about using it as a splint to hold your arm against your body if your arm is been damaged or even broken? That's what I'm talking about. Are you prepared for that? Yes, it can happen. It could happen. You need to be aware of this. You need to be aware of it. Folks, I've been watching this for a very long time. I want to welcome Cowboy Roy Rogers here as well. Cowboy Roy Rogers News and Clues. He just changed his name. Cowboy Roy Rogers, I appreciate you so much. I watch your programs. I'm very much aware of what you're doing. I appreciate you as a friend and also a fellow news giver. Now, folks, we're going to have this earthquake in LA. Again, a set of 4s, one over in Grapevine and one in Pasadena, and now one over in Elsinore, California. They're spreading. They're spreading. We've got 2 up north and 1 down south. That means the center line is in Los Angeles. Are you watching? Are you prepared for what's going on? If not, why not? If not, why not? When can you be ready? It could happen tomorrow. It could happen next week or next month. But I don't think it will be that long. Now, Charlie says many of the bottled waters contain graphene oxide. I'm well aware of that. When you buy water, whether it's bottled water, whatever it is, he gets Fiji water. Fiji water was also contained harsh chemicals as of about 3-4 months ago. All bottled water contains some kind of chemicals. Watch what you're buying. Check your water before you buy it. See what chemicals they put in. They have to list the chemicals on the side of the bottle or the side of the package. It's law. It's law. Martin Delos says Fiji's been expensive, but his favorite water. Yes, Fiji is expensive. It does not come out of Fiji. Watch what you're doing. Watch what you're buying. Bottled water also contains particles of plastics. Particles of plastics. Even pieces of plastic have been found in placentas. Pieces of plastic have been found in people's bodies when they do autopsies. Whatever we're doing here with our food contains plastics, and we are ingesting those plastics. Okay? You need to be aware of it. Now, I'm not here to talk about plastics or environmental hazards today. We might do that another day. Charlie says don't get cheap water. You can get inexpensive water. Inexpensive water is out there. You just have to watch packaging. Watch your packaging. Richard Smith says would like to be able to convert salt water. There is a saltwater processing plant just south of San Diego City along the coastline of San Diego. Saltwater processing facilities in Australia. Saltwater processing facilities in Japan. Saltwater processing facilities all over the United States. I don't know about Canada. I've not read anything about saltwater processing in Canada as of yet. But I'm sure if it's here in the United States, they have done something about it in Canada as well. But you just have to be careful. You have to be careful about whatever you consume. That's an absolute necessity. But anyway, getting back to these earthquakes. We've had 4s up in the Grapevine. We've had 4s in Pasadena and now 4s down in Lake Elsinore area. That means Los Angeles is next. Right smack dab in the middle of those quakes. They're going to happen. They're going to happen. Are you ready? Have you got your emergency preparedness kits ready? Do you have a preparedness plan? Tomorrow is Preparedness Friday. I'm specifically going to talk about preparedness plans and also preparedness kits tomorrow night. Unless something major happens. Unless something major happens. But I'm hell-bent on making sure that you have the information you need to be prepared. That is one thing that I've always been doing. Making sure you have the knowledge enough to be prepared. I don't want to ever have it be said that Ron Tyler didn't do anything to help people. There are video creators out here on YouTube and other places that don't give a darn about anybody but themselves. They put out information on the outskirts of truth. They put out information on the outskirts of truth. I don't believe in that. It has to be truth, or we're not going to put it out at all. We won't put out anything on the outskirts of truth ever. Not going to happen. Not going to happen now or ever again. We don't do that. We absolutely do not do that. Now, I have a couple other things I want to talk about. I put this out last night on the edge of the end of our program last night. Suggestions for townhouse or condo living in the suburbs. Nowhere else to go when the crap hits a fan. Do you have about 6 or 8 months worth of food supplies already? Do you have 6 to 8 months of food supplies already? Do you have any plants that are growing to help you have vegetables when crap hits a fan? Or vegetables that you can have ready during the wintertime when you can't grow anything outside? How about a month or two of water? Gas cans. Do you have your gas tank half full or better? Or is your gas tank completely full? You should be keeping your gas tanks as full as possible. As full as possible. That way, if you have to bug out, you're not going to be broken down on the highway with only a half a tank of gas and you've run it out. Make sure you have a full tank of gas. Solar generators or electrical generators of any kind. Carol and I have been putting together information here. We've been gathering supplies here. Yes, we have backup batteries here to keep our computers, our radios, and probably the television here going when crap hits the fan. Do we have security systems? Yes, we do. I'm not going to go into security systems that we have, and I don't want you to do that either. I don't want anybody discussing security systems that you have. You can make recommendations, but I don't want anybody to tell anybody else what you have. Number one, it's none of anybody's business. Number two, I don't want anybody else having that information to have the idea, oh, so-and-so's got this and so-and-so's done that. And then you get attacked. That's the last thing we want to have happen. But you need a way to protect yourselves. Do you have radios? AM, FM weather radios. AM, FM radios, if you don't have a weather radio attached to it or frequencies attached to your AM, FM radio, at least tune your AM, FM radio to a news talk station. Tune your AM, FM radio to a news talk station, a local news talk station. That way you're getting information from your area localized to you. That way you're getting information to protect yourselves and to be able to help protect your family. If you don't have your television or your radios on, tune your television if it's able, but tune your television to a news talk station. News, weather, and sports on the television. Do not tune your televisions to HGTV or any other television channel that's satellite where it's not going to give you information localized to your area. That will not do you or your family any good. Make sure your radios and televisions are tuned to local stations. If you have an AM/FM weather radio, a police scanner radio. Tune your radios to the Weather Channel. Tune your radios to the NOAA, National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration radio station. That way you'll get local weather radio information to you in case there's weather emergencies, or local officials take over that weather channel and broadcast emergency information to you for your area. Local officials have that authorization to take over that channel and broadcast local emergency information to your local area. That's why we keep harping on this. Someone the other day on our channel talked about having a sat phone, a satellite telephone. Yes, they're costly. They cost a lot of money. They also have a monthly fee to be able to operate and talk on those satellite phones. But they're very good in most cases. The only way where they're not any good any longer is if there is a huge solar flare that Mark Wages has been talking about on his channel, and the CME knocks out the satellites. That's a possibility. Then the satellite phone won't do squat. Now also lots of home defense stuff. Home defense stuff. Now, I'm not going to tell you to buy a NUG. I'm not going to tell you to buy a NUG. However, I do have some of my own. And most of you have some kind of way of protecting yourselves. I'm always going to preach protection. I'm always going to preach defensive protection to everybody. Because the bad guys don't care. The bad guys don't care who they run over. But I do. If anybody comes near me and my family, they're going to deal with deadly force. They will deal with deadly force, and I promise you that. I promise them that. My daddy taught me force when necessary. My police department said this, and I'm going to quote, "The only time you can use deadly force is when your life or another is in imminent danger. When your life or another life is in imminent danger. Don't do it otherwise. But you need to be trained. You need to be trained." Now, if you're not trained, that NUG could be very dangerous to you. That NUG could be very dangerous to you because some bad guy could take it away and use it on you. Don't do it unless you've been trained. Okay? I've taken many a NUG away from bad guys. When I've been staring down the barrel of a NUG, I've taken NUGs away from people because they have not been adequately trained to protect themselves. But they decide to go after somebody else, and I've actually taken away from them. Bad guys can also do the same thing to you if you're not been trained. Okay? If you have any depression problems, some laws are there to protect yourself from yourself. Some laws are there because the laws say if you've done something, you cannot own a NUG. Be very careful. Be very careful. Okay? You need to be very careful. Okay. That's that. I have a couple other things to discuss with you. And this goes for a lot of stuff here. I got this notice earlier this morning. Checkmyvote.org to help clean up our voter rolls. Over in Michigan, good old Michigan, I want to tell you what happened in Michigan this year. This year. Nobody even really realize what's going on in your own state, in your own town, in your own city. Michigan has 7,436,478 people of voting age. They have 4,436,478 people of voting age. Michigan has 7,621,498 registered voters. How is that possible? How is that even possible if there's only 7,436,478 people of voting age? Michigan has over 200,000 more registered voters than they have people of voting age. That means something has happened, doesn't it? That means someone or some people have put out false registration. False voter registration. This is not just happening in Michigan. It's happening all over the United States, and I believe it's happening all over the world. If you want to protect yourselves, go and pull this information on your own area, on your own state. Folks, it's happening. Don Patoga's in the chat saying they call it proxy vote. Voting for someone else. Going out to cemeteries and pulling people's names off of headstones and registering them to vote. Yes, that has happened in Michigan. It's happened in California. It's happened in Georgia. It's happened all over the United States. They've done it. That's how the Democrats won the last election. This is how the Democrats won the last election. Are we doing anything about it? I suggest we better do it. And we better do it now. We're less than 80 days from the next general election here in the United States. We're less than 80 days away. Are you prepared to vote? Have you registered to vote? If not, why not? If not, when? If not, when? Now, when we talk about Camelback Harris, every problem that Camelback brings up, she has already had over 3.5 years to fix it. Every problem that Camelback has ever had, every problem she brings up, she has had over 3.5 years to fix. She has not done squat. Joe Biden, as we all know, has not been any kind of president. He's actually been the worst president in history. Not just that. He's inept. He's medically disqualified from even being president right now. He should have been taken out of the presidency long time ago. And it's not just that. He can't make decisions for himself. So who else has made decisions for Biden during the past 3.5 years? Camelback and the rest of the people that are in back of the Biden administration, including Barack Hussein Obama. What are we doing? We cannot allow Camelback or Mr. Waltz to assume the presidency of the United States. If we do, we deserve what we get. I'm promising you that. If we do, we deserve what we get. Now, there are a lot of people that are here in the United States trying to help us. Earlier today, I heard a program from Glenn Beck. I've heard a program from Glenn Beck. Now, I'm going to try to find that program for you. Because I want you to hear it. It's very pertinent to our situation now. Very pertinent. If you don't hear it, you may be in worse shape than we all should be. That's all I'm going to say about it. We could be in very much worse shape than we already are. Let me try to find this for you. I thought I had it all up here, and for some reason it disappeared. Oh, crap. What happened?
Art show, but I have to tell you, I just heard what CNN is reporting, and I can't take what's happening to our country and to the world. What is happening? I tried to post live on all the social media, couldn't do it because I'm in my art studio, and I'm working on redoing this for the art show, but I have to tell you, I just heard what CNN is reporting, and I can't take what's happening to our country and to the world. What is happening? I tried to post live on all the social media, couldn't do it because I had posted something from a source that they find dangerous, and they showed me the post, and it was me reposting a trailer for our documentary at the Blaze on COVID-19. So I'm now not trusted, I guess. It's unbelievable. But I'm watching CNN, or listening to them a few minutes ago, and I watched the entire Trump thing last night, and I know what they said. I know what he said. And CNN just reported that Donald Trump and Elon Musk last night were making light of Hiroshima and Nagasaki and saying that it wasn't so bad. And Donald Trump was like, yeah, right. It took me a second to figure out how they even got there. Donald Trump was talking about how dangerous nuclear war is and how close we are to nuclear war. And he brought it up like 6 or 7 times. He's like, beyond everything else, nuclear war is what everyone should be concerned about, because we will blow the entire planet up if we are not careful. So they were having a conversation about how bad nuclear bombs are. But at one point, they talked about nuclear power. And Elon Musk said nuclear power is the way to go. And Donald Trump said, yeah, I agree. And he said, it's not so bad. You know, if you look at what happened in Fukushima, you could go there, you know, almost immediately. He's like, everybody thinks it was so bad, but it's actually not that bad, and it only takes a little while before he said, we said that it would be thousands of years before you could go back to Hiroshima or Nagasaki. But you can go. It wasn't like we thought it was going to be. This is completely out of context. And CNN, you people are evil. You are absolutely evil. Anybody who is pushing this propaganda, and I mean, at least when I say I have an opinion on something, it's an opinion. I do not falsify facts and take things out of context. You had to have taken that conversation so far out of context. May God help us if these people win the election. They will do absolutely anything to control your life, to control what you think you know, and to destroy the Western world. Look out, and for God's sake, go and vote in November. Donald Trump.
Okay, did you hear that? Go and vote for Donald Trump in November. I know for a fact that Glenn Beck has studied the issues. I know for a fact because I watched the interview with Glenn Beck and Elon Musk. It was not what CNN made it out to be. I also saw some of the power brokers afterwards, and they pulled it out, pulling crap out of their own butts. Fake news. Fake news, guys. And this is not a joke. This is not a joke. I want you to listen to what Dan Bongino said. This is no joke. I want to let you hear this. I'm going to turn up the sound so you can hear it. Again, this is Dan Bongino.
This is what they're afraid of, is change on the political culture. Watch this.
That's unusual.
Yeah.
A lot of guys usually are in pretty rough shape, right? Beautiful job.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I want to look like that guy.
Mr. President, my son is going into the Army next month.
Wow.
Can I get a photo, please?
Come on, get over here. You'll end up being a general.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Can I have
Can you
it?
back in office? Can I get an internship?
I think you could. Is this your mom?
Yeah, may I have the honor to
That's how
hop
you
in?
turn out this thing. Come on, let's go.
Thank you.
I promise you I'm not name dropping, folks. I promise. It's stupid and you sound like a loser. But I've had the pleasure of a few distinct experiences with Mr. Trump here. That is exactly how he is. I want you to watch this interaction he has with this mother of this soldier. I want you to just watch this thing. And I'm telling you, this is exactly how he is in the real world. And this is what they're afraid of, is change on the political culture. Watch this.
That's unusual.
Yeah.
A lot of guys usually are in pretty rough shape, right? Beautiful job.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I want to look like that guy.
Mr. President, my son is going into the Army next month.
wow.
Can I get a photo, please?
Come on, get over here. You'll end up being a general.
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Can I have
Can you
it?
back in office? Can I get an internship?
I think you could. Is this your mom?
Yeah, may I have the honor to
That's how
hop
you
in?
turn out this thing. Come on, let's go.
Thank you.
I promise you I'm not name dropping, folks. I promise. It's stupid and you sound like a loser. But I've had the pleasure of a few distinct experiences with Mr. Trump here. That is exactly how he is.
That's exactly how he is. Now, I have not met him. I have not even shaken his hand. Okay? I've heard him speak. I've heard him talk to each one of us. I've heard him talk to us. I believe he is who he says he is. He doesn't talk.
I want you to watch this interaction.
Sorry about that. He doesn't talk except if he believes what he says. He's done the research about what he's talking about. Everything that he said in the 2+ hours, nearly 3 hours with Elon Musk is absolutely truth. During the past few days, I've had plenty of time to do some research on everything he's talked about. It's absolute truth. I don't frickin' give a darn about what CNN or CBS, ABC, NBC, or ABC says. Those are fake news. Those stations are fake news, including MSNBC. They're all fake news. What you can trust are Christians. What you can trust are true Christians. They won't lie to you. They won't lie to you. Usually they will tell you exactly how it is. I've never heard a true Christian lie through their teeth, ever. Never happened. Folks, we need to listen to true people. We need to listen to people who will always tell us the truth. Always tell us the truth. We need to do our best to become prepared. Because if we can't become prepared, we're screwed. Then we are screwed in the worst way. Like I said, tomorrow night we're going to be talking about emergency preparedness. That's pretty much all we're going to talk about unless something else major has happened. I want to make sure that everybody is aware of what's going on around you. I want to make sure you at least have the knowledge necessary to put together those things that will help you, help yourself and your families. I want you to have that. Because if you don't, we're all screwed. We all are screwed. We help each other. We have to help each other. If we are not happy, if we can't help each other, we're gone. We have to be able to help each other. It's helping each other when we're standing together. When we're standing together. We can't very much help each other unless we have some kind of semblance of mind to be prepared. Some kind of semblance of mind to be prepared. That's why I will never ask anybody to sit down on their hands and not do anything to help themselves. I have never asked anybody to just sit down and do nothing. I've been teaching preparedness since day one of coming on the air 5.5 years ago. Always. Always. We need to be prepared for whatever happens. For whatever happens. When it happens, where it happens, and who it happens to. We have to reach out and help each other. I don't care whether you are in England, whether you are in France, Switzerland, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, or Australia, New Zealand, South America, Central America, Japan, Canada, or the United States. I need you to be prepared so I can help you and you can help me. It doesn't matter where we're at, but it does matter that we are going to be prepared so we can help each other. We have to stand shoulder to shoulder. We have to stand shoulder to shoulder. That's where this world is at. If we even get to a point where we allow this person, Camelback Harris, to get into power, our country's gone. Our country's gone. Now, before I end this program, I want you to see this. I picked this up from Ronald Reagan earlier today. Ronald Reagan at his museum.
Correct. You don't. When people tell me that I became president on January 20th, 1981, I feel I have to correct them. You don't become president of the United States. You are given temporary custody of an institution called the presidency, which belongs to our people. Having temporary custody of this office has been for me a sacred trust and an honor beyond words or measure. That trust began with many of you in this room many conventions ago. Many's the time that I've said a prayer of thanks to all Americans who placed this trust in my hands. And tonight, please accept again our heartfelt gratitude, Nancy's and mine, for this special time that you've given in our lives. When people tell me that I became president on January...
Okay? This is truth. This is truth. And I'm sure of one thing. That President Trump would say the same thing. President Trump would say the same thing. I'm asking each and every one of us, this day, this night, this hour, to get down on our knees and give thanks. And ask the Lord to give you personal revelation. Personal revelation to help yourself and your families. Personal revelation to help us pick a president of the United States. And I don't give a doggone who it is necessarily, except for Camelback. The Lord will give us personal revelation on what we need to do in our own lives. The Lord will give us personal revelation to guide and direct us. The United States of America and extension of that, Canada and England especially, are countries of honor. Countries that stand together. Countries that are allied together. That stand for a semblance of normalcy. A semblance of honesty. A semblance of saving each other's lives. Yes, we have other allies with us as well. But the Lord didn't give us these countries for nothing. The Lord told us that as long as we are worthy, as long as we are keeping the commandments of God, that our countries will be protected. Our countries would be protected. If we allow our country to come under the rule of communism, our country's gone. Our country is gone. Now, if you want to find out more information, Don Patoka and I have put these out on Facebook and Facebook Messenger. I have played segments, clips of Esther Taft Benson when he was Secretary of Agriculture during the Eisenhower administration. Go here on YouTube and look up Ezra Taft Benson's speech about communism. Play it. Play it for yourselves. What you're going to find is absolute truth. Absolute truth. Why? Because Ezra Taft Benson told the truth. And now we are exactly where he said we were going to be if we fell from the truth. If we fell away from following God. But that's where we're at now. That is where we're at now. If I had the time, I would play his speech for you. I would play his speech for you because it's evident that this world needs to hear it. He gave the speech back in 1964. And everything he said is absolute truth. He talked about where we were going back in the 60s. He talked about where we are now. I tell you right now, what he said was the absolute truth. The Prime Minister of Russia told him that they were going to feed us spoonful by spoonful of communism until we would not recognize it. Until we would not recognize it. Because we've been fed spoonful by spoonful of poison. And we don't even recognize it as poison today. That's a sad commentary. But it is the truth. Charlie's asking, can we be given the link? Give me a second, I'll pull it up. I probably should have done this earlier. His name is Ezra Taft Benson. Ezra Taft Benson. Texas lady, I will put it in the chat. Pam Miller just put it here, his name. Okay? Ezra Taft Benson, Constitution. The address was called America on the Path to Destruction. America on the Path to Destruction. Let me give you the link. We're here. We are here. It's a sad day. We're here. Okay, I just gave you the link here. Let me do this. I know we don't have a lot of time here. I'm going to play a couple clips here because I think it's important. I would not be taking this time unless I thought it was absolutely important. I want you to hear this. Diane Kellman says,
humbly and gratefully, I stand before you, grateful for patriots such as you, humbled by the magnitude of the task before us. I speak to you as a fellow citizen of the United States of America, deeply concerned about the welfare of our beloved country. I am not here to tickle your ears, to entertain you. I will talk to you frankly and honestly. The message I bring is not a happy one, but it is the truth. And time is always on the side of truth. As the German philosopher Goethe said, truth must be repeated again and again, because error is constantly being preached round about. I realize that the bearer of bad news is always unpopular. As a people, we love sweetness and light, especially sweetness. Ralph Waldo Emerson said that every mind must make a choice between truth and prose. Those who will learn nothing from history are condemned to repeat it. This we are doing in the Americas today. George Washington stated, truth will ultimately prevail where there are pains taken to bring it to light. To bring the truth to light is our challenge, this day and every day. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Returning recently from 2 years abroad has caused me to reflect seriously on recent trends and present conditions in our beloved country. I am shocked and saddened at what I find. I am sorry to say that all is not well in so-called prosperous, wealthy, and powerful America. We have moved a long way and are now moving further and more rapidly down the soul-destroying road of socialism. The evidence is clear, shockingly clear, for all to see. With our national prestige at or near an embarrassing all-time low, we continue to weaken our domestic economy by unsound fiscal, economic, and foreign aid policies which corrupt our national currency. Ever-increasing centralization of power in the federal government in Washington, D.C. is reducing our local and state governments to virtual federal field offices, while weakening individual initiative, enterprise, and character. With the crass unconstitutional usurpation of power by the executive branch of the federal government, anti-spiritual decisions of the Supreme Court, all apparently approved by a weakly submissive rubber-stamped Congress, the days ahead are ominously frightening. Surely, certainly, it behooves patriotic citizens such as you to meet together to seriously consider present conditions in our beloved nation. It is imperative that American citizens become alerted and informed regarding the threat to our welfare, happiness, and freedom. No American is worthy of citizenship in this great land who refuses to take an active interest in these important matters. All we hold dear as a great Christian nation is at stake. In leaving for Europe 2 years ago, I could not help but feel a very deep sense of anxiety for this great land of America, which had just passed through a terrible crisis. To have the President of the United States suddenly torn from his high office by the violent hand of an assassin was an insidious and dastardly act which struck at the very foundation of our republic. All of us felt the impact of it. All of us caught the ominous spirit of tragedy and sorrow which accompanied it. Each of us sensed in a very personal way the heartbreak which had come to the Kennedy family. But after the services and burial were over, we also realized something else. There was the cold, stark reality that the assassin's murder of President Kennedy was just one more monstrous treachery in the long list of crimes against humanity which have been inspired down through the years by the godless philosophy of communism. It was communism that sowed the seeds of treason in the mind of President Kennedy's assassin. This is something which must not be forgotten. And now, 2 years and 1 month later, I am appalled at the shortness of our memories. When the events surrounding President Kennedy's assassination were remembered last December, practically no mention was made of Oswald's communist affiliations, nor the present communist threat to our society. Have we so soon forgotten that communism sowed the seeds of hate that destroyed our president, and that communism continually seeks to subvert and destroy our complete way of life? The assassination of President Kennedy, the daily slaughter of our boys in Vietnam, the communist control of the Berkeley riots, and communist-inspired demonstrations from coast to coast should serve as a shock therapy to that segment of our population who like to call themselves liberals. America is big enough to make room for many different kinds of thinking, but many liberals have claimed to see virtues in socialism and communism which I, for one, have not been able to find. To promote their ideas, American liberals have become a highly organized, hardcore establishment in the United States. And they have been excusing their appeasement and coddling of communism on the ground that they were being tolerant, broad-minded, and working for peace. But the assassination of President Kennedy should have jolted them into a realization that they have been pampering, protecting, and promoting the very nest of serpents which produced Lee Harvey Oswald. The diabolical spirit of murder and violence which struck down the president is that same spirit of communist violence which has been allowed to spread its terror into the heart of every continent upon the face of the earth. Perhaps those who have been apologists for this conquering Marxist, socialist, communist movement might now agree to reconsider the fatal decision they have been following. Two additional things happened in connection with this tragedy which are worthy of comment. First was the speed with which the communist leaders spread the word that the slaying of the president must have been the work of American conservatives. Moscow has conducted a 5-year campaign to make American conservatives look like hysterical fanatics. It has called them rightists, extremists, and even fascists. Within an hour after the assassination and before Oswald was captured, Moscow was assuring the world that this crime was the product of the rightist movement in the United States. The second thing which happened was the amazing rapidity with which American liberals took up the Moscow line. They too were quick to fix the blame, even though there hadn't been the slightest hint as to who had committed the crime. I wonder what would have happened if Oswald had not been captured and identified as an active communist who was in direct contact with party headquarters in New York City. Undoubtedly, the liberal element would be blaming this tragedy on conservative Americans to this day.
And yet he was not the only one.
Captured and identified as a Moscow associate.
He was not the only one. Oswald was not the only one. And it's almost proven today that Oswald and the guy that was also captured later and shot Lee Harvey Oswald was also part of the CIA.
Associated communists. There were those who insisted that any who had opposed the president during his term of high office was guilty of the same spirit of hate as that which led to the president's death. This line of thinking was expressed by a number of prominent persons through the press, radio, and TV. To me, it was incomprehensible. To equate Oswald's hate and homicidal bitterness with patriotic Americans who happened to oppose some of the policies of the president's administration was the height of distorted and fallacious thinking. The American people can respect their president, pray for their president, even have a strong affection for him, and still have an honest difference of opinion as to the merits of some of his programs. Another recent development has been the call for national unity. I believe there needs to be unity in our land, but it must not be a blind, senseless, irresponsible unity. It should not be a unity just for the sake of unity. It needs to be a unity built on sound principles. We Americans have strayed far from sound principles, morally, constitutionally, and historically. It has been getting us into a quagmire of trouble all over the world, and especially here at home. Americans at the grassroots level have sensed that their way of life is being threatened. During the last several years, there has been a rising tide of resistance to the prevailing political trend. Compromises with communism abroad and flirtations with socialism at home have stirred up opposition in both political parties. if this has less sound constitutional principles on which we can unite. There would be no virtue in calling for unity to support certain legislation if the majority of Americans were opposed to it. And the fact that both Democrats and Republicans in Congress have at times resisted certain legislation shows that the executive branch of the government may get out of step with the people. I believe the American people know what they want. It would appear that the people want their civil rights safeguarded, but not a destruction of states' rights. The farmers want opportunity for reasonable income security, but not agricultural dictatorship security. Parents want better school for their children, but not a federal subsidy leading to control of the teachings and textbooks as well as the ideologies of the children.
Isn't that where we're at today? Is that not where we are at today? With the federal government subsidizing our schools, telling our schools what to teach and what not to teach. Indoctrinating our children. Indoctrinating our children. That's exactly where we're at.
People want sound pay-as-you-go spending with a balanced budget, not reckless spending and tax cuts with an unbalanced budget. If there is a need for urban renewal, people want it under local direction, not under the red tape of Washington bureaus armed with confiscatory powers over property. People want the development of power dams, but not the strangulation of privately owned power companies, which have proven far more efficient and economical than utilities run by the government. In other words, there are some legitimate functions and services which the federal government can and should provide. But those who want the federal power to exceed the authority delegated to it by the Constitution will be resisted both by Democrats and Republicans. This is what is happening in some limited areas today. May the trend increase. And anyone who tries to equate this love of constitutional principles as meaning hatred of our national leaders is using Goebbels-style deception. History has already demonstrated that conservative opposition to national leaders was not hate, but an attempt to do them a favor. Let me give you some examples. Was it hate when General Albert C. Wedemeyer pleaded with General Marshall and President Truman to reverse their policy before they lost China? Was it hate when Whittaker Chambers tried to warn President Roosevelt in 1939 that Alger Hiss had been giving the Soviet Union more espionage data than any other member of the Washington spy network? Was it hate when J. Edgar Hoover tried to warn President Truman that Harry Dexter White was a member of the Soviet spy apparatus and was doing great danger to the nation as Assistant Secretary of the Treasury? Was it hate when I went to the Secretary of State under President Eisenhower and pleaded with him not to support the communist Fidel Castro? Was it hate when I urged the President of the United States to go to the aid of the brave freedom fighters in Hungary? Was it hate when the Democratic Senator from Connecticut, Thomas Dodd, pleaded for 2 years with the President not to support the United Nations bloodbath against the free people of Katanga? Is it hate when distinguished military leaders advised that an all-out effort could end the Vietnam struggle almost overnight? This list of acts by well-meaning citizens who want and wanted to prevent their presidents from making serious mistakes could be extended at length, but they would all illustrate the same point. History will show that many terrible mistakes occurred because the advice of these well-informed and well-meaning citizens was not heeded. Therefore, I repeat, this kind of resistance to a national leader is rooted in love and respect, not hate. Regardless of which political party is in power, you do not want to see your president make a serious blunder. You don't want him to lose China. You don't want him to allow the enemy agents to make fools of us. You don't want him to lose Cuba. You don't want him to suffer the humiliation of a Bay of Pigs disaster, or allow a Soviet Gibraltar to be built 90 miles from our shores. Every one of these events, which have been so disastrous and which have destroyed freedom for hundreds of millions of our allies, could have been prevented. And the voices of those who tried to warn Washington of what was coming cannot be attributed to hate. It has been out of a love for our country and respect for our leaders that the voice of warning has been raised. What causes one to wonder is why these warnings were not carefully considered and acted upon. Why is it that men in high places in government, regardless of party, have been deceived? I am convinced that a major part of the cause can be justly laid at the door of the socialist communist conspiracy, which is led by masters of deceit who deceive the very elect. J. Edgar Hoover put it well when he said, quote, "I would have no fears if more Americans possessed the zeal, the fervor, the persistence, and the industry to learn about this menace of red fascism. I do fear for the liberal and progressive who have been hoodwinked and duped into joining with the communists." End quote. Therefore, let those who call for unity and the elimination of hate be sure they are not merely trying to silence the friends of freedom. These are who respect their leaders and resist them only when it is felt they are headed for a catastrophe. What patriotic American would wish to stand silent if he saw the president verging on a blunder because of bad advice or a mistaken judgment of the facts?
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. I want to continue this same speech, but I want to continue to something specific here. So if you guys will just bear with me for just a second, I'll bring that information up, and you can hear it for yourself. Ezra Taft Benson quotes from Khrushchev, Nikita Khrushchev, when he said that he was going to feed us socialism spoonful by spoonful until we did not any longer recognize it. Prediction for communism here in the United States. I want you to hear it. Give me just a second here. And this is very, very important. I would not even take this time to play it for you if it wasn't so very important. This is absolutely important at this point in time in our lives. And this is why I'm playing it for you tonight. This is why we are going to be talking about politics a great deal in the coming days and months. Because this is what we're being fed.
I grew up always on the bigger side as a kid. I was always slightly thicker, big boned. That really continued.
I have personally witnessed the heart-rending results of the loss of freedom. I have talked face to face with the godless communist leaders. It may surprise you to learn that I was host to Mr. Khrushchev for a half day when he visited the United States. Not that I'm proud of it. I opposed his coming then, and I still feel it was a mistake to welcome this atheistic murderer as a state visitor. But according to President Eisenhower, Khrushchev had expressed a desire to learn something of American agriculture. And after seeing Russian agriculture, I can understand why. As we talked face to face, he indicated that my grandchildren would live under communism. After assuring him that I expected to do all in my power to assure that his and all other grandchildren will live under freedom, he arrogantly declared in substance, "You Americans are so gullible. No, you won't accept communism outright. But we'll keep feeding you small doses of socialism until you finally wake up and find you already have communism. We won't have to fight you. We'll so weaken your economy until you fall like overripe fruit into our hands."
Location, Flores Region, Indonesia, class moderate, magnitude 5.0.
We will fall like overripe fruit into their hands because we no longer recognize it. Because we no longer recognize it. His words. And that is exactly where we're at tonight. That is exactly where we're at. Brothers and sisters, I cannot tell you strong enough what our mission is now. I cannot be strong enough in telling you this. I don't want us to fall. I think the great majority of us don't want us to fall. But we are here. Bernie Sanders 8 years ago tried to get us into communism then. He spoke about it. Then President Trump was elected. And he started turning things around. And then the communists got a hold of us. And they have literally turned us upside down. Barack Obama in 2009 started it. He said he was going to transform America, and that's exactly what he has done. Barack Obama has been leading Biden around by his nose. And as a direct result of that, each and every one of us have been allowed to be walking around by our nose, as if we don't recognize anything else. It's my testimony. It is my testimony, and I've studied this a great deal throughout my life, that unless we come forward and put a stop to it, all of us come forward and put a stop to it, we will be living under communist rule in the next 6 months, if not already right now. I showed you earlier the results of an investigation done in Michigan, where there were more people that were registered to vote than the people who were of age to vote. How'd that happen? Because we have allowed it. We have allowed it to happen. We have allowed these communists to do whatever they want to do, and we have not stopped them. We have not stopped them, or we have not been allowed to stop them because the communists are in control. We must turn that off. We must turn the communist rule upside down and over and spank them. It can no longer be allowed to happen. Heidi Petrick said this, and also Heather said this a little bit earlier. I will be on my knees before Jesus and no one else. I will not allow myself or my children or grandchildren to live under communist rule over the communist dead bodies. Over the communist dead bodies. I've said that twice. YouTube's going to spank me over that one. The other day, I believe it was Tuesday or Wednesday, a federal judge ruled that Google was a monopoly. That Google was a monopoly that had to be broken up. It remains to be seen what that judge will say needs to happen. Google owns YouTube. Google owns YouTube. They are a monopoly. One rubs the other's back, and vice versa. What Google says happens is happening. They spanked my hands many times. They took my last channel down with over 25,000 subscribers. 25,000 subscribers, and now I'm nearing 6,000 subscribers again. I would ask all of you to ask your friends to come to this channel. We are going to tell you the truth. I'm not going to try to whitewash it. I'm not going to tell you lies. I'm not going to be anything but straightforward, because I believe we deserve the truth and we can handle the truth. I believe that. I don't care whether it's earthquakes, typhoons, hurricanes, snowstorms, floods, fires, rain, tornadoes. I don't really care what it is or who it is. I will tell you the truth until it hurts. I will tell you the truth so you can help your families, so you can help yourself and me turn this country around. We must stand for the truth. We must stand for the truth. As Ezra Taft Benson said, and the scriptures are replete throughout the scriptures, and the truth will set us free. The truth will set us free. Brothers and sisters, I know Jesus Christ is the Savior of the world. I know He and our Heavenly Father want us to return to Him. But we can only do so if we are allowed to do it. We can do so if we humble ourselves. We can only do it if we obey the commandments of God. It's up to each one of us. We cannot allow Satan to take us over. And yet, I believe we're probably in the beginning of the tribulation that the scriptures talk about. Don Patoka is saying today in the chat, today two mighty forces are battling for supremacy in the world. The destiny of mankind is in the balance. It is the question of God and liberty, or atheism and slavery. God and liberty, or atheism and slavery. And I, for one, don't want to be in slavery, and I don't believe in atheism. This is the truth. We have allowed our society to so slide that we are in danger of losing everything. We've allowed it to slide. We've seen organizations saying pride, 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 this, and this. They don't want anybody else to prevail at all. It's their documents. It's their right to be heard, but they are telling us they are the only way, that we must kowtow to what they say, and that's garbage. Sorry guys, I'm calling a spade a spade. It's garbage. It's trash. Unless we are on the Lord's side, we're going to fall, and it will be a terrible fall. Communism cannot make education a weapon in its hands, so long as religion is secure in its own right to teach and educate. Every Sunday I teach a Sunday school class. I'm trying to reach out and help people. I'm trying to reach out and preach godliness and virtues. We are not a godless nation. Heather just said that in chat. We are not a godless nation. Never put your trust in anything or anybody. Put your trust in God. Put your trust in God. Communism can never dominate unless it has the power to remake the life of the people. And Barack Obama said that's what he was going to do. But we must stop what Barack Obama has started. It must come to a screeching halt, Barack. And Barack, if you want to talk to me, call me. My telephone number is everywhere. Call me. Let's talk. Let's talk. And I will stand up to everything that Barack has said. I'm going to talk about the Spirit of truth. I'm going to give you the Spirit of truth. I'm going to give you truth from the book itself. God is God. God is God. And God will always be God. There is only one way. One way. Jesus Christ said he was the life. He was alive. One life, one truth. That's Jesus Christ. Brothers and sisters, I know what we've been talking about is true. I bear testimony to that. Even in the very name of Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen. Now, folks, please join me tomorrow night for more Emergency Management Associates. Again, we're going to talk about Preparedness Friday. If anything else happens tonight, we will be back on the air to talk about it as soon as the information becomes available. Other than that, we will come back on the air if it's necessary tomorrow morning, or at the very least tomorrow morning at 6 p.m. sharp. I will be back here on the air at 6 p.m. sharp Eastern Time. We'll talk about some earthquakes. We'll talk about some other things that may happen. And after that, we will talk about emergency preparedness. Please be here with our channel tomorrow night. Please think about questions that you might ask me, because I will be ready with answers. I will be ready with answers. I have got, as I talked about this last week, I have got the makings for a book. I've written about it. I have the answers. Like I've told you before, if I don't have the answers, I will find it. Please be with us tomorrow night at 6 p.m. sharp. May God be with you. May God be with you now and forever. God be with you until we meet again. I want to thank everybody that's been here with us tonight. I want to thank our wonderful mods. We have the best mod squad in the business. We have the best Emergency Management Associates family in the world. And I want to thank you for being here. You guys are the best. I love each and every one of you. I love each and every one of you. May God be with you until we meet again. We will see you on the other side. Good night, everybody. God be with you until we meet again. Good night.